What up, crew? It is Chris with CloverTac, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some range brass that I need to clean up, and so there's no better time to talk about just how I'm going to get that done. I'm a big fan of wet tumbling, and my homemade tumbler does a great job while making short work of cleaning brass. A little bit more about the design of my tumbler a little later on. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of preliminary cleaning. I'm going to take this assorted range brass, going to dump that into my RCBS media separator, spin it around a few times. And what that's going to do is that's going to get some of the leaves and sticks and rocks and dirt and stuff like that out of the brass, get it not clean, but get it a little bit cleaner. That way, when it goes into the wet tumbler, it doesn't create quite as much sludge with all of that trash mixed in with the brass. I don't worry a whole lot about the various types of metals that may be mixed in with the range brass. Once we get everything clean, these will be super easy to identify, and we'll weed them out in the final sort. Before we move on, a quick question to those of you out there that reload. Jump down in the comments below and let me know what method you use to get your brass all clean and shiny. Now, as far as supplies, I like to use a wash and wax style soap, an automotive style wash and wax style soap. And these soaps tend to clean well, they rinse well, and they're less likely to leave water spots. To give that clean brass a little bit of luster, I like to use a little bit of Lemmy Shine. Talking a little bit about the design of my tumbler, it started out life, at least in the prototype phase, on a wooden frame, but after I got all the kinks worked out, upgraded to a steel square tubing frame that is a little more rugged and a little lighter in weight as well. There are two steel round bars on the top of this frame, and they run through a series of bearings, and this creates the roller system. Now, to add a little bit of grip and traction between the rollers and the drums, I have added some rubber tubing to the round bars. And speaking of those drums, those are made out of 6-inch PVC. One side of the drum is capped. The other one has an adapter from 6-inch to 4-inch and has a rubber cap that can be secured with a hose clamp. Now, one important thing to remember with these drums, and I've designed mine this way, is to have some type of an agitator on the inside. If you don't do that, the brass will simply sit in the bottom of that drum and will never actually agitate or flip around. There is an electric motor mounted to the bottom of the frame, and that is going to drive the rollers through a pulley and belt system. Now, this may be the most difficult part of getting this tumbler put together because you want those drums to move fairly slow. Most motors out there spin really fast. To overcome that, you're going to want a small pulley on the shaft of the motor, and what I have here is a much larger diameter pulley on the drive shaft. Now that all of the exposition about the tumblers out of the way, let's talk about media. And for media, I like to use stainless steel pins. They're cheap, they can be used over and over again, and they do a really great job of getting up into the nooks and crannies inside that brass and getting it as clean as possible. Let's get started cleaning some brass, and we're going to start out by filling up one of these drums about halfway. Remember, you don't want it jam-packed full because you want plenty of room inside that drum for the brass and all of the stainless steel pin, media to tumble. We're going to add just a cap of the automotive soap. Doesn't take much. Going to add a little dash of the Lemon Shine. Again, it doesn't take much. And then we're going to finish off by filling the drum up only about 3/4 of the way with some warm water. You don't want to fill it up all the way. You want it to have room, again, inside that drum for the water to kind of agitate and slosh around. And I almost forgot them, so certainly don't forget those stainless steel pins. With a drum full of brass, let's throw that sucker onto the tumbler, plug it in, and get it going. Now, depending on how dirty your brass is going to kind of determine how long it needs to be tumbled. I recommend running it for an hour, checking it, and if need be, running it an extra hour or 2 or maybe 3. If you're worried about tumbling your brass too long, well, don't. I have forgotten before and left my tumbler running for about 24 hours and had no ill effects. Once you have your brass tumbled, it's time to take the drum off, open that sucker up, Go back over to the media separator and pour the contents of the drum into the media separator and give it a few turns. This is going to start helping to separate the stainless steel media from the brass. This is also an opportune time to get some clean water and rinse that brass off as well as you're tumbling. If the media separator fills up with water, you could just tip it, let some of that water drain out. As for me, I've drilled holes in the bottom of my media separator so that the water can drain as I pour it in. Now, I lose a few stainless steel pins this way, but not many. Once I'm done rinsing my brass, I'm going to lay it all out on a towel in some sunshine and let it dry. Now, if I'm lacking sunshine, another method that I like to use is take that brass and use a food dehydrator to dry it out. While I'm spreading the brass out to dry, I'm also going to be looking for those non-brass cases and heavily damaged brass to throw over into the scrap pile. So there you go, crew, a little behind the scenes on the process I use to get my brass all clean and shiny. Remember to use those comments below if you have questions or want to share tips on the process that you use. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And until next time, don't forget to chain fire freedom.